Hey there YouTube fans, AC Productions here, and today I'm doing a Q&A. And today's question comes in from Alex Riv. His question is, well, starts off with a comment. Love your videos. And his question is, can you please make a video of how to make a license plate light? Then he also says, greetings from Mexico. Muchas gracias por los saludos de Mexico. I just translated and I just said, thank you for the greetings from Mexico. Alright, so let's get started and show you how to do a custom license plate light. Grab our plasma light packaging and we're going to cut from the top. So you want to make sure when you're taking out this light, make sure you're careful. That's why I say cut from the top. So you could open up from the top and you could see exactly where all the cables are at. Because if you cut from the side over here, you have a risk of actually cutting the cables off. So cut from the top and then just pinch it from here and then go ahead and just cut from, that way you could see where the wires are and you could cut accordingly and not damage it and cut any wires off. Okay, once you cut the package open, when you open it, you're going to notice there's going to be these two 12-volt batteries. These are the smallest 12-volt batteries that we're going to find. So what I like to do, and as you can see, you're going to find these other little adapters. Mainly the one we're going to need for this project. Just go ahead and unplug it from here. And that will disconnect it from the battery pack. So next, do it carefully and remove the LED that's inside the package. As you can see, it comes with this 3M backing, but you could just keep it there. So that's that. We're going to put off to the side. Okay, first thing we're going to do is we're going to grab our scrap piece of metal, which is right here, and we're going to grab our little plasma light, which is right over here. If you notice that it comes with this, like, I think there's like a resistor in here or something, or a little computer board. I'm not sure what's in there. I think it just regulates the power so that way it has the appropriate power to go to the light. Then you have our little clip over here and then our wires. Okay, so what we're going to do first is we're going to measure the little plasma light, and we have our little ruler here. We're looking at approximately 3 millimeters for the light. Okay, so we're going to grab our spare plate here, and we're just going to find a flat, we're going to go with the level here, just looking for a spot that's going to allow us to have enough room to cut whatever we need. So I'm just going to line it up right here at the bottom. Okay, so we're going to put our light here just because we have plenty of cutting space if we need to the long way here, and to be able to bend the metal. Alright, so right now I'm just going to make two small markings. That's going to be at the edge of the light, our little license plate light. Say probably around there. So I'm just gonna mark a line on each side. So we're gonna go one line here, and then while holding it in place, we're gonna mark another line over here. Alright, and I think I'll probably mark a line along this edge over here on this side too, just so I know that this is pretty much where the light's gonna be. Okay, after measuring, so the width of this plasma light is around 1.5 millimeter. So we're just gonna double that. So we'll do it 3. We'll do a little bit more just to allow us enough space for the bend when we do bend the metal. So we'll go with 3.5 millimeters for our straight line, and we're just gonna go off the edge over here on the metal. So edge to edge, so we make sure that we get a straight line. Mark at 3, a little bit past 3 millimeters. We'll go with right there. So just past the 3 millimeter, which where I had marked was right there. So from the edge to right there is where I marked for the metal. And as you can see, here's our line right here that we did before. Alright, so after I kind of messed up on that line, but it's really this line here. So we're just going to mark with an X on where we're going to fold. So, I mean, with the parts that's going to be folded. So from there to there. Alright, so this portion is going to be where our little light's going to sit. So if you notice that here's our light, and this is pretty much where our light's going to be, like so. And then as soon as we bend the metal, this part's actually going to go to your license plate frame. And then these parts we're going to cut here along this line, and then we're going to cut along this line also. So this one here, and then we're going to cut this line over here. Alright, so we're just going to go ahead, cut our square or a rectangle out, and then I'll show you what to do next. So I got to show you the measurements. Height wise, we're looking at around 3.5 millimeters. And then width wise, we're looking at exactly 3 millimeters. Okay, so now we're going to go to our vise and we're going to put our metal bracket there. Now don't forget your safety glasses and your face mask, because you don't want any of those particles to go in your nose. Okay, so now we got our metal plate there. We have our Dremel with our cutting wheel, and we're going to go ahead and cut the rectangle out. Okay, now that we're done cutting it, we have the rectangle. What I did is I put the metal back into the vise and I put it right along up to the line where what we made. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend the metal that way towards the left, so we'll still see the X, but in this area. And the reason that I'm doing it that way, it doesn't matter really which way you do it. It's just because, as you can see, I have a little imperfection when I was cutting, so I kind of scraped up that area. So I wanted to have a nice finish on the other side, because we are going to use the spray can of the Posi Tap to make it black, but that imperfection will show through the paint. So therefore, that's why I'm going to fold this the other way. Now, as you can see, I bend the metal. Now it's the X showing right in front of you, so I had bent it away. So now we're going to take it off the vise and we're going to go check fitment on the bike. Okay, here is our little bracket that we made. As you can see, I still have the word light, and that's going to be towards the bottom. This X now is going to be facing the metal bracket. So when we do, we're actually going to flip it over and it's going to go this way on the license plate frame, which is right there. All right, so let's go over there and check fitment on the bike and see how it fits. So we're just going to put it right here in the center. As you can see, the light will shine right onto your license plate. Okay, so next what we're going to do is we're going to Posi Tap this side of the bracket. Not this side, because this side we are going to actually glue where the X is, and we're going to glue it onto the surface of your license plate frame. And then we're not going to paint this part, because this is the part where we're actually going to stick our new light. On the back of the light, it has a 3M tape on it, so that's where we're going to stick that to. Okay, while we're waiting for the paint to dry from our bracket, let's get started with our little plasma LED. Alright, so to know which wire is positive and which one's negative, the all black cable that has no stripe is negative, and the one with the white stripe is the positive. So you can see on the other side of the connector, we have the same thing, one with the white stripe, that's positive, and then the cable with all nothing on it, that's our negative. So first we're going to do is we're just going to unplug it from the harness, which is like that. And yeah, when we're done with this, it's up to you if you want to Posi Tap the connector. You know, I would just put it together like so, and then I'll just wrap some tape around the light over here, and then we could go ahead and spray the connector both front and back, so that way you won't see it when you're on the bike. Let's get started with the soldering part. So let's take this off, put that off to the side. Now we have our cable. Now we're going to start off with our negative first. So let's just, if you haven't spliced already, go ahead and splice over here. You want to make sure you splice enough so you could do the other cable too. So just make sure you splice enough wire on both ends. So we got our little connector there. Now let's get our negative cable here. So now we're going to grab our negative cable here. We're going to grab our paste, and all we're going to do is just going to grab our little cable and just dip it in there and get a little bit of flux onto the wire. So once you get a little bit on there, now we're going to close this. Then we're going to grab our cable, and so our negative to negative here, make sure it does not have the white stripe, and then we're just going to put our two cables together, folded over each other. Our cables like so. So let's just grab it, make an X, and then we're just going to fold one cable over the other. I usually like to start with one side, fold that one completely over, and then get the other side. Okay, once you fold them both over, it should look like this in a nice straight line. Okay, so next what we're going to do is we are going to solder this connector. Alright, here's our soldered connector. Now next we're going to do is we're going to slide over some heat shrink tubing from this end of the cable. So from the other end of our cable, we're going to go ahead and slide some heat shrink tubing to cover that part we just soldered. Okay, the heat shrink tubing that I'm going to be using is a 3/32 inch in diameter heat shrink tubing. So it's this little guy, and then we're just going to go ahead and put it over it, and then pull the cable all the way through until you get to the soldered connection area, and then just slide it over, and then use your lighter to heat up the tube so it could shrink over the connector. In case you've never seen heat shrink tubing work, I figure I'd just show you this little part of the video. All you do is just grab your lighter, as long as you have your heat shrink tubing over the connection. As you could see, right underneath is at our soldered area. Cover that up, grab your lighter, and then you'll see the tube just shrink right over the connection. And that's it. That's all it does. It just prevents any moisture or any contaminants getting into that soldered connection. There you go. That's all it is to the heat shrink tubing. Okay, next we're going to do is we're going to do the same process we did with the negative. We're going to do to the positive cable. Okay, now that we're done with the soldering, as you can see, both cables are already covered with the heat shrink tubing. So now we could go ahead and put our connector back onto the connection. Close it at this. So now at this time, it's up to you if you want to paint this little connector so it's not white and it's just you know, black with the plasti dip. And then we could also probably paint a few of these cables, but actually we'll probably put some heat shrink tubing over this. I think it'd be a lot better than just painting it. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just put some heat shrink tubing over this. That way I know that the connection is protected a little bit better than just spray painting it. But if you want to spray paint it, all you have to do is just grab some blue painter's tape and just wrap this little light and make sure that nothing is exposed, and then just go ahead and paint it, because like I said, behind this is the 3M tape and you definitely don't want to spray paint that. Okay, these are the two sizes of heat shrink tubing I used. I used the 1/4 for where the connector goes, and then I used a 1/8 for after the connector for a little bit of the wire. So 1/4 for this part where the connector is, and then a 1/8 I'm going to slide over to this area to cover some of this wire. Okay, once you're done with the heat shrink tubing, should look like this. Well, not that part. Here's where the connector was. Then I had slid this longer one. As you could see, I slid it into this bigger one, and then I shrunk it with the lighter. See, now it's fully enclosed and insulated. Here is the rest of that. I don't think we need to put any heat shrink heat shrink after this point, because at this point it's already going into the bike. Now if you don't have any heat shrink tubing, you could still use electrical tape. So electrical tape, you will start over here and just keep wrapping until you get around here. I'd say this is probably much around. For an accurate estimate, we are looking at, we're going to go on millimeters because then I give you a precise measurement. Okay, so we're looking at 12 millimeters worth of insulation from this connector to the end. 12 millimeters worth of insulation. All right, so now let's go over, let's see, actually, okay, now let's go over to the bike so we can actually trim and see how much wire we're actually going to need to connect to the license plate light. All right, so that's that. All right, so let's go over to the bike and take out some of the stuff we need to take out of the bike. All right, so for the bike, if you go here, we're gonna have to remove our passenger seat, plastic piece, and our driver's seat. Okay, now that you remove everything that we need to remove, now we're gonna be looking for a connector on the bike. So if you go towards the bottom, you're gonna see here's a connector. This is what we had removed from our original stock license plate light. So this connector has if you remove some of this insulation, you could see a blue and black cable. Zoom in there. So you got the blue one and a black cable, and this is our license plate light connector. Okay, so we could do one or two things. You could either splice the cable and just directly feed it into the connector, or you could actually strip some of this insulation and then we could use something called a Posi Tap. So let me show you what a Posi Tap is. It's this little guy right here. So let me show you how a Posi Tap works. Alright, so here's our Posi Tap. So how a Posi Tap works is actually you put the cable in from one side, and then there's a little pin in here that actually splices into the cable that you're working on. So first we're going to do is we're going to unscrew the top part where the red is, and we're just going to go ahead and unscrew that. Yep. So now once you unscrew it, as you could see in this one, it's just clear. It goes right through. But on the other end, when you look in here, you're going to see this little metal point. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab our positive cable from our license plate light. So we have our cable here from the positive side. And then what we're going to do is we're going to grab that little small cap that we removed. We're going to put it through like so till it sticks out to the other side. Then this part we're going to twist, make sure all the strands are together. And then we're just going to go ahead and put that inside here. You want to make sure it gets in contact. Get a little better view in there, you guys. So you want to make sure that the cable has contact with that metal inside the Posi Tap. So once you have it in there like so, if you want, you can actually, let's go ahead and do this again. So we're just going to put it in like so. Once you have it in like so, you're going to grab the end part of that Posi Tap, and all you're going to do is just screw it in. So here's our end part, here's that cable, just go ahead in there and then just screw that part in. Now inside, what it's doing, it's actually getting the cable and wrapping it around that metal part. So once you go in and you tighten it all the way, and now as you see when you pull on it, it's not coming out because that cable got wrapped around that little metal tube inside. So that's how you do the Posi Tap on the LED side. Now on this other part, when you unscrew it, you're going to see it has the cap, but it has a slit on it. So there's no hole on the side. So it's just a slit on this part of the cap. And on this part, it's the same thing. The only difference is, as you could see, that metal point, it's actually a lot more pointier, because this is actually going to splice into the cable that you're working on and actually tap into the strands on the inside. So as you can see, this is how pointy it is, because it needs to puncture the cable that you're working on to get the power. So that's how it looks like. So if we had a cable, we'll use the black cable just for an example, but we're not going to completely splice through it. So what would you do is you would get the cable that you're going to be working on that you need to tap into, and just put the cable through this part, and then just make sure you slide it all the way in. So as you can see, it's slid all the way in like so, and then you would grab this part of the Posi Tap and then just screw it in. As you screw it in on the inside, you're going to see that that point is actually going to come in contact with the cable. So let me show you from the outside. It's actually going into the cable. So it actually pierces the cable, gets in there, and then that's how it gets the power. Posi Taps, these are great for if you're not comfortable in doing any soldering connections on your bike. These work great. So I'll have a link in the description below on where to get these. You have both a red for the positive, and then I'll have black ones for negative. Alright, so now let's get an estimate of how much cable we're going to need, and it looks to be good right there. So I measured around 1 foot and 8 inches of cable that we're going to be using for our license plate light. So this is 12, it's 1 foot and 8 inches all together in length. Okay, now that the paint has dried, as you can see on this side, the paint's dry, but it seems like the spray can was already at the end and started spraying all speckly. As you can see, it's not a nice black surface of paint because of the way the spray was coming out. So now it came out like that, but nothing else I could do about it. Almost kind of gives it a design, I guess you could say, but not the smoothness of what I was thinking. Alright, well hopefully that doesn't happen to you guys. Alright, so now we have the other side of it. This part's going to go towards the surface of the license frame, and this part down here is where our little light's going to be. This part's going to go towards the bottom like this. So when we put this other part on the frame, it's going to allow the light down here, and this can be stuck on the frame part. Alright, so first things first, we're going to clean this surface area with some alcohol and a clean piece of paper. So here's the alcohol I'm using, and a somewhat semi-clean piece of paper. Alright, now the bottom of where our light's going to be is nice and clean. There's no mark, as you can see. Okay, next what we're going to do is we're going to remove the backing of this LED, and we're just going to take off that backing of this so we could stick it onto our cover. Alright, so let's remove this red paper from the back. Make sure you don't put any fingerprints and touch the sticky part of this. Okay, so we're going to grab our bracket. Alright, so we have our light here and our bracket. Now you just want to make sure that the bottom part of this bracket lines up with the bottom part of this. So what we're going to do is just going to line it up, and then you're just going to stick it on there. Alright, so now it's stuck on there, as you can see right there. It's pretty much lined up with the edge of the metal bracket. Okay, now for the next part, we're going to fold this cable over this area, and we're actually going to stick this little part of the light, I would say right there, you know, wherever you want to put it. If you want to put it at the edge, or if you want to, it's going to stick it right there, I guess. So right like so. What you're going to do now is we're going to put some epoxy, and we're going to stick it onto this corner, like L-shaped part of the bracket. And then this part of the cable is just going to go upward onto the bike. So let's grab our epoxy. The epoxy that I'm going to be using is called Shoe Goo. So I'm just going to get a little bit and put a little dab on there, and then just stick it there. Alright, so that's how much I put on there, and then I just stuck it there. So once you get it stuck there, that's all it needs. It doesn't need that much. Alright, so next we're going to do is we are going to clean this other side with the alcohol and our piece of paper. Alright, now that we're done with cleaning the other side of our bracket, now we're going to go over to the bike and feed our cables through the area and actually plug the cables through onto our license plate light area. And we're going to connect it to our license plate light connector. So here is our license plate light that we just made. And first off, we're just going to put our cables in through the bottom. So while you're holding this part, we're going to actually feed the cables. And if you look inside here, which I'll show you in a second, you're going to feed it in through here, and then you're going to grab it up here. You're going to grab it from up here. So you're going to go ahead and you're going to feed it through the bottom here. So this is the area I'm talking about. So if you look at our license plate frame here, you could see that there's some light over here, because when I had built the frame, I left it so we could actually put cables through it without having to take apart the whole entire bracket. So if you could see my finger, I'm moving it around. So we're going to feed our cables through that area, and then from this side we're going to be pulling the cable out. Okay, now that we already fished our cables through, as you can see, here's our cables. Now we're going to go to that connector, the one that's right over here, which has a black and blue cable. We're going to grab our scissors and we're going to cut some of this insulation off. Okay, now that we've cut the insulation off of that connector, what we're going to do is we're just going to peel away some of this insulation, just peel it off like so. And now we have the full black and blue cable exposed. Alright, so now we have our black and blue cable exposed. So now the black is obviously the negative cable, the blue is the positive. So what we do is we're going to grab our positive cable, and over here we're going to grab our Posi Tap. And like I had showed you before, now we're actually going to do it on the bike. We're going to go ahead and we're going to unscrew this bottom part with the red part, like so. And then we're going to grab our cable and feed this through. Once you feed it through, make sure you twist this area after you splice it. Then we're going to put this part in, put it in like so until it stops. If you want, you can push it in a little bit more, and then go ahead and screw it on there. Make sure you get it tight enough, and once you did, give it a little tug. If it doesn't come out, it's perfect, and it's on there pretty good and securely. Next, we're going to remove the gray cap, and as you can see, it has that little slit, and since we're on the positive, we're going to go to our blue cable. Alright, so put that off to the side, and grab our cap, and we're just going to slide the gray part over onto the blue cable, like so. So as you can see, it's right down on that slit of the cap. Okay, next what you're going to do is you're going to grab your Posi Tap, and you're going to go ahead and screw that in. And once you get that tight on there, that's all it is to it for the Posi Taps. And you're going to do the same thing with the black cable. You're going to do the same process we just did. Unscrew the black part of it, feed your cable through it, and then unscrew the other part and put your cable through it just like we did with the red part. Now we're going to put some epoxy over here on this part, on the silver part, and then we're just going to stick it to the frame of the license plate. Just going to go ahead and we just want to make sure that we have enough cable. If you need to, pull it from the other side to give you a little bit more slack. And then we're going to put our epoxy, and then we're just going to find the center, and that's where we're going to stick it. Okay, so I used a little bit of painter's tape to hold the bracket while the glue sets. Okay, so now that we have that on there, now let's go to the bike. Let's turn the key and see if the license plate light works. Alright, so I'm going to go to the bike, I'm going to turn it on and see if the license plate light works. And as you can see, it works perfectly fine, and it's super bright. Okay, now that we have the license plate light working, and we know all the connections are good, now what we're going to do is we're going to put our seat back, our plastic piece, and our passenger seat back on. Okay, and that concludes our installation on how to make a custom license plate light for your bike. And this is a universal, I would say this is a universal install. It would work on any brand of bike. It doesn't matter if it's a Yamaha R3 or a Kawasaki or a Honda or Suzuki. So that you could use this on any, you could use this installation on any style of bike that you have. Well, I hope this video was helpful. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button and don't forget to subscribe. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification button so you could be up to date with the videos when I post them. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. And I'll have all of the products I use in this video in the description below. If you have a friend or know of someone that's looking to do something like this, please share my video. And thanks for watching.